The moment my sister accused me of being obsessed with her fiancé in front of 200 wedding guests, I thought the humiliation alone would destroy me. Was the look on her fiancé's face when he realized the woman he was about to marry had spent months building a lie around a relationship that never even existed. I still remember the sound of Valerie collapsing onto the bridal suite floor after Drew walked out. It echoes in my head sometimes late at night, mixed with the memory of everyone staring at me like I had suddenly become the villain in somebody else's story. Growing up, Valerie and I were never the kind of sisters people envied. We were not close, we were not confidants, we barely even occupied the same emotional universe. Valerie was beautiful in the polished, effortless way adults loved. Teachers adored her, relatives bragged about her. My parents never outright said she was their favorite, but they did not have to. It showed in little things. Valerie got the bedroom with the large windows overlooking the backyard, while I got the tiny room near the laundry area. Valerie got praised for every accomplishment while mine were usually acknowledged with distracted nods. By the time I was old enough to understand family dynamics, I already knew my role. Valerie was the golden child. I was just Reese, the younger sister who followed behind her carrying invisible baggage. When I turned 22, I accepted a job 3 states away and moved without hesitation. Leaving home felt like finally inhaling after years of shallow breathing. The distance did something unexpected to my relationship with Valerie. Without constant comparison and tension, we actually started talking like normal people. We texted often, we laughed during phone calls. Sometimes she would call just to vent about work or gossip about reality television. For the first time in my life, I thought maybe adulthood had finally turned us into real sisters. Then she met Drew. The second she showed me his picture over FaceTime, I burst out laughing. Drew was a guy I had gone on exactly to awkward dates with during college. We met at a coffee shop near campus, talked about economics homework, sat through painfully forced conversations, and mutually realized we had absolutely no chemistry. Neither of us even bothered formally ending things. We simply stopped texting each other and moved on with our lives. When I told Valerie that Drew and I had briefly dated years earlier, her entire expression changed. The warmth vanished from her face so quickly it almost gave me whiplash. I immediately reassured her it had meant nothing, because honestly, it had not. I barely remembered him until she showed me his face. After a few uncomfortable minutes, she brushed it off and pretended everything was fine. 8 months later, they got engaged. When Valerie asked me to be her maid of honor, I nearly cried. It felt like proof that all the old resentment between us was finally gone. I threw myself into helping her plan the wedding. I took time off work to fly home than I should have on her bachelorette trip. I answered late-night calls about flower arrangements and seating charts and cake flavors. I did it all happily because I truly believed we had finally become the sisters I had always wanted us to be. About a month before the wedding, Valerie called me sobbing. One of her bridesmaids had dropped out because of a family emergency, and now the bridal party numbers were uneven. She asked if my best friend Cora could step in last minute. Cora agreed immediately because that was the kind of person she was. Valerie sounded so grateful that she nearly cried again on the phone. She told Cora the wedding colors were champagne and gold, then texted her a direct link to the exact dress she wanted her to order. Everything seemed normal until the morning of the wedding. All the bridesmaids were gathered in the bridal suite getting hair and makeup done when Cora and I walked in together. The second I stepped through the door, my stomach dropped so hard it physically hurt. Every bridesmaid in the room was wearing deep burgundy dresses, every single one except Cora. She stood there frozen in a champagne gold gown looking like she had accidentally walked into the wrong wedding. Conversations stopped immediately, makeup brushes hovered in midair. Someone quietly muttered, "Oh my God." Then Valerie stepped out of her private suite wearing a silk robe and the most calculated expression I have ever seen in my life. It was not surprise, it was satisfaction. She let out this dramatic gasp and clutched her chest before looking directly at the bridesmaids. Then she said loudly, "I knew Reese would pull something like this." At first I genuinely thought she was joking. I laughed nervously and asked what she meant. Valerie turned toward the room with tears already gathering in her eyes and announced that I had been obsessed with Drew for years. She claimed I constantly tried to sabotage their relationship and accused me of deliberately putting Cora in the wrong dress to create drama and embarrass her on her wedding day. I could barely process what I was hearing. My brain felt disconnected from my body. Cora immediately pulled out her phone and showed everyone the text messages Valerie had personally sent her, including the dress link and the message saying, "This is perfect. Order it ASAP." The room fell silent. For one brief second, I thought the truth would end the insanity. Instead, Valerie completely unraveled. She started screaming that I must have faked the text somehow. She accused me of manipulating Cora. Then her voice became shrill and hysterical as she shouted that I probably slept with Drew behind her back and had been plotting against her. That was the exact moment Drew walked into the room. He had heard the screaming from the hallway where the groomsmen were getting ready. He looked confused at first, but the confusion quickly turned into exhaustion as Valerie ran toward him sobbing and clinging to his arm. She told him I was trying to ruin the wedding because I had always been in love with him. Drew stared at her for a long moment before looking at me. Then he looked back at Valerie and quietly said he had already explained to her countless times that nothing had ever happened between us beyond 2 terrible college dates. The room became painfully still. Then Drew said something that changed everything. He admitted Valerie had spent their entire relationship obsessing over me. He revealed that she forced him to block me on social media, regularly searched through his phone looking for evidence of secret conversations, and accused him of thinking about me during intimate moments. Hearing him say it out loud felt surreal. Some bridesmaids looked horrified. Others stared at Valerie with open disbelief. Valerie burst into tears harder than before and kept repeating that she was just scared of losing him because she loved him so much. Drew took a step backward. That tiny movement somehow felt louder than shouting. Then he told her he could not do it anymore. He said he had ignored red flags for too long because he hoped things would calm down after the wedding. But he could not marry someone who trusted him so little. He apologized quietly before turning and walking straight out of the bridal suite. Valerie collapsed onto the floor sobbing. Nobody moved. Nobody even knew what to say. Cora grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the exit before I completely broke down in front of everyone. We left the venue without speaking and drove to a diner 20 minutes away. I sat there in my burgundy bridesmaid dress eating pancakes at 10 in the morning, while my phone exploded with calls and texts from relatives demanding explanations. I turned my phone off and ordered another coffee. For the next 3 months, I tried to move on with my life. I buried myself in work and avoided family gatherings whenever possible. Valerie called constantly at first, but I ignored every attempt. Eventually, the calls stopped. Mom told me Valerie had started therapy and barely left her apartment anymore. Then one night, a text appeared on my screen. "I have something important to tell you about Drew. Something you deserve to know from the beginning." The message made my chest tighten immediately. I must have reread it 20 times that night. Part of me wanted to ignore it forever. Another part needed to know what she meant. I called Cora in a panic, and she immediately warned me not to meet Valerie alone because she did not trust her motives. Over it, I finally agreed to meet Valerie at a neutral cafe halfway between our homes. I made it clear Cora was coming with me. Surprisingly, Valerie agreed without argument. That scared me more than if she had fought me on it. The morning of the meeting, I felt physically sick. My hands shook so badly that Cora insisted on driving. We arrived early and sat near the back corner of the cafe watching the entrance like nervous witnesses waiting to testify in court. When Valerie finally walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked thinner, exhausted, almost fragile. The carefully curated perfection she carried her entire life was gone. Dark circles sat beneath her eyes, and her clothes hung loosely from her frame. She sat down slowly and immediately started apologizing. Not defensively, not dramatically, genuinely. She admitted everything. The dress sabotage had been planned for weeks. She deliberately replaced me as maid of honor shortly before the wedding because she worried I would have someone defending me during the setup. She confessed that she genuinely believed humiliating me would somehow prove to Drew that I was the problem in their relationship, instead of her jealousy. Listening to her explain it made me feel physically cold. She admitted Drew had repeatedly suggested therapy during their relationship because he recognized how unhealthy things were becoming. Instead of accepting help, Valerie convinced herself therapy was simply his way of preparing to leave her for me. Then she finally revealed the reason she wanted to meet. She said Drew never had feelings for me, not even slightly. Her therapist helped her realize she had invented an entire fantasy in her head where I secretly wanted Drew, and Drew secretly wanted me. In reality, neither of us had done anything to justify her fears. I stared at her in disbelief because she was confessing something everyone already knew except her. As the conversation continued, Valerie revealed more disturbing details about how deeply her obsession had consumed her. She said she interpreted everything through the lens of abandonment. If Drew was distracted after work, she assumed he was thinking about me. If he mentioned my name casually, she convinced herself it meant something deeper. She even admitted she once believed I moved away for work just to make Drew miss me. The level of paranoia was honestly terrifying. Cora finally asked the question I had been too emotionally drained to say aloud. She asked why Valerie removed me as maid of honor 2 weeks before the wedding. Valerie admitted she worried I would expose the sabotage. That realization hit me harder than almost anything else. This had not been a breakdown caused by stress, it was carefully planned cruelty. By the end of the meeting, I felt emotionally hollow. Valerie cried constantly while explaining how therapy had forced her to confront the reality of her behavior. She admitted she destroyed both her relationship with Drew and her relationship with me over fears that existed only inside her own mind. When we left the cafe, I completely fell apart in Cora's car. The tears came so hard I could barely breathe. Cora pulled into a gas station parking lot and sat quietly beside me while I cried into my hands. I was grieving something bigger than the wedding disaster. I was grieving the relationship with my sister that I thought we had finally built. A few weeks later, I received an unexpected message from Drew's best friend, Blake. He said Drew wanted to apologize for everything and was not sure if contacting me directly would be appropriate. At first I thought it was strange, but then I realized Drew had been trapped in Valerie's obsession too. I agreed to meet Blake for coffee. During our conversation, Blake explained that Drew had nearly called off the wedding a week before the ceremony because Valerie's jealousy had become unbearable. His parents convinced him to try one last time because they believed marriage would stabilize things. Blake also confirmed Drew had absolutely no idea about the dress sabotage plan. He genuinely thought it was an accident until he saw Valerie's reaction in the bridal suite. That was apparently the moment he realized how serious her behavior had become. Before leaving, Blake handed me Drew's number on a napkin. I kept staring at it for weeks before finally texting him. Our first phone conversation lasted over an hour. At first it was painfully awkward, but eventually the tension faded. Drew admitted he spent months blaming himself for ignoring warning signs. He described how Valerie's jealousy gradually consumed every aspect of their relationship. He avoided female coworkers to keep her calm. He constantly reassured her. He let her search his phone because he believed transparency would eventually build trust. Instead, nothing ever satisfied her fears. Hearing him describe it made me realize he had been emotionally exhausted over time before the wedding disaster. Drew and I became unlikely friends, not romantic, not inappropriate. Just two people who survived the same emotional storm. He started therapy too and admitted leaving the wedding was simultaneously the hardest and healthiest decision he had ever made. Meanwhile, Valerie continued therapy consistently. Months later, she asked to meet me again. This time I went alone. During that meeting, Valerie revealed she had been diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder focused heavily around relationship fears and abandonment. Her therapist helped her understand that the intrusive thoughts about me and Drew were symptoms of something much deeper than simple jealousy. For the first time in our lives, we had an honest conversation about our childhood. I admitted I spent years feeling invisible beside her. Valerie admitted she spent years feeling like she had to be perfect or she would lose love entirely. We realized we had both grown up insecure in completely opposite ways under the exact same roof. That conversation changed something between us. Not instantly, not magically, but genuinely. Over the following year, we rebuilt our relationship slowly and carefully. Monthly coffee dates turned into regular conversations. We learned how to talk honestly instead of performing fake perfection around each other. Valerie stayed in therapy and eventually began volunteering with a mental health advocacy organization, where she shared her story to help others recognize unhealthy obsessive patterns before they destroyed relationships. Drew eventually started dating someone new and sounded happier than I had ever heard him. And somehow, after everything that happened, I found peace too. A year after the wedding disaster, Valerie and I took a weekend trip together to a small spa resort near the coast. Sitting beside her in a hot tub while we talked honestly about fear, insecurity, family pressure, and healing felt surreal considering where we started. At one point during the trip, Valerie looked at me quietly and thanked me for giving her another chance even though she knew she did not deserve one. I told her forgiveness was not about pretending nothing happened. It was about deciding the pain would not control the rest of our lives. Driving home from that trip with the windows down and music filling the car, I realized something important. The wedding day had nearly destroyed both of us, but it also forced us to confront truths we had avoided our entire lives. Valerie finally faced the mental health struggles she spent years hiding behind perfection, and I finally learned how to stop shrinking myself just to keep peace inside my family. And strangely enough, I think that makes what we built afterward far more real than anything we had before.